Welcome to the Motivational Medium podcast. I'm Anne-Marie Lord, a psychic medium, author, and the founder of the Motivational Medium Academy. On this podcast, we'll explore intriguing topics such as mediumship, psychic abilities, and the amazing idea that we all have intuition within us. Whether you're a believer, skeptic, or somewhere in between, get ready to unlock your extraordinary potential as we discover the supernatural world together. If you want your questions featured on the show, be sure to join my tribe by subscribing to my newsletter at annemarielord.com. Let's go. Hey, my friend, welcome to today's podcast. I want to take you back in time. I was interviewed by a beautiful lady called Marcia Miatki on her live podcast that was called The Marcia Miatki Show. And when she interviewed me, she actually blew my mind. She surprised me by telling me that she'd actually been for a reading with me in the past, and the outcome of that reading and the journey and the absolute surprises and shocks that this journey went on for her, really. So anyway, I won't tell you much more about it, but I want to introduce you to a lovely friend of mine, Marcia Miatki, and listen to the podcast when she interviewed me a little while ago.
Welcome, Anne-Marie. I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
Oh, Marcia, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's start with a quote or a mantra that you live by.
So the mantra that I live by is one that's in my book. I always tell people the emotion gives you motion and the learnings give you life. And it's something that I decided a long, long time ago to bring into my life. And it's always been there. And I teach my clients it. I tell my family it. Yeah, anyone that'll listen. The emotion gives you motion and the learnings give you life.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so I invited Anne-Marie to come on the show, and I'm so excited because there's a backstory which she doesn't remember. So I'm going to share the story. You're going to be hearing it for the first time, and Anne-Marie's going to be hearing it for the first time. So let me give you a backstory of how I first found this beautiful woman. I was, newly-ish separated. I was a single mom. I had a 3-year-old little girl, no, 2 at the time. And I was going through a really hard time. So my ex, the typical challenges that you go through early in the breakup, he didn't want the breakup. So there was a lot of resistance there and just wasn't ideal. And then I ended up finding out that I had a tumor in my ovaries. And it was discovered through a specialist, and they didn't know if it was cancerous or what was going to happen. And my sister invited me to this party. They said, we're going to have a psychic or like a medium come over, and like, do you want to come along? And I'm like, yeah, okay, no problem. I had never been to anyone before. I had never seen anybody. This was just so far out of my, realm. Like, I was like really academic, very science-based. I was doing my PhD at the time. And yeah, it was just so different. But I'm like, you know what? I'm willing to go. So I went and I sat down with you in a separate room when it was my turn, and you had the most beautiful energy, and you tripped me out. Okay. You tripped me out because you picked up on, you're like, there's someone next to you. It's an elderly, like an older woman. She's got like braid, she's eating peanuts. And I knew right away who it was. It was my grandma. And the crazy part was, before I was leaving my relationship, we were in a very dark place, and we were in separate bedrooms, and I was laying there crying one night. And I was like, if you're real, if I'm supported, like, show your face. And I saw this face, and it was this older woman that had white hair. You said she looked like me. This woman looked like me, but she was older with like long braids. And I was like, no, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I got scared. Oh my gosh, goosebumps. So then when we had a reading, you saw her and you were talking about her and you were telling me that, she's been guiding me and supporting me. And I said I had felt her energy. And what I love about you is that you not only say like what's happening, but you also do offer some advice in terms of like action we could be taking. And you were telling me to be more confident in myself and that I second guess myself. And this is the energy we're receiving from this woman next to me. Oh my gosh, so many things you said. So remember, I hadn't had my surgery. I knew that there was a tumor. We didn't know anything about it. And you said to me, okay, well, what's going to happen is they're going to remove that ovary. It's not cancerous. They're going to remove it. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, I don't feel like it's cancer. That felt true to me. Well, my surgery was a month later and they removed that ovary. And that's the other thing you said, this is so trippy. Oh my gosh. You said when they remove that ovary, the other one will just pick up where it kind of left off and you'll function perfect. It will be fine. Meanwhile, when I went into surgery, they said, oh, like we might have to give you a hysterectomy. That's a possibility if it's cancerous and it has spread and all of these things. I had to sign, a form giving them permission if that was the situation. And then what else did you say? You said you saw another baby coming through, a boy. And I was like, well, I don't think so because I'm single. I've just got out of a relationship. I didn't even want to have a first child, let alone a second child. And everybody listening knows I have a second baby and his name is Luca. Telling the story now, so many years later, it's like, it's so surreal.
You're going to make me cry.
Oh my gosh. Well, it was so amazing because with Aaliyah, my first child, I apparently had the worst hormones of a postmenopausal woman. It was going to be so hard for me to get pregnant. I got pregnant with her without trying. And then with Luca, they said to me after the surgery, look, the likelihood of you getting pregnant are very slim. You're over 30. Like, you now only have the one ovary. And I said, it's fine. I have my baby girl. Like, I'm happy. I wasn't in a relationship. And then 2019 comes along and end of 2018. So my surgery was February of 2018. By the end of 2018, I had met Dan, my now fiance. And then I got pregnant in 2019 and Luca was born like New Year's Eve of January 1st would have been January 2020. So it was so crazy. So
Then
yes. And then I saw you on Facebook and I was like, I have to reach out to her and have her on my podcast.
And I'm so glad you did because I never get to hear the stories, That, oh my gosh, that just made my heart sing so much. What a beautiful name, Luca, Oh, I'm just so happy. And I'm so happy your surgery and everything went well, and you got your little boy and you're still here to tell the story today. This is amazing.
Yes, thank you so much. And I'm so glad I got to share it with you and that we hadn't talked before and you didn't know the story because it's really exciting to share. And I've wanted to share that specific story on my podcast for a while and how appropriate that I share it with you on. So amazing.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. It's just amazing. And as I say to you, I don't get to hear the backstories or sometimes people will send me little messages. What I love is like someone will come in and they'll sit down and I'll go, oh, you're pregnant. And they'll go, I only found out this morning. How do you know? It always makes me laugh because I feel like I get these little messages and it's a little photograph of like a little boy or a little girl. And this is the one you told me was coming, or this is the one you said, keep going with the IVF because we're going to get a baby. And, oh God, it makes me heart sing. And the job that I do sometimes is so tiring. Like the parties that you talk about, I can't do them anymore because my client list, which I'm very, very grateful for, has just exploded. It's gone massively. I'm with writing the book and everything, and I'll talk to you a bit about that later. But I've just been so busy. So I haven't done the parties for about 3 years now. I just can't do them. So I still get to see people in my office and read for people all over the world, which is great. But yeah, again, I still never get many of them backstories.
So glad I got to share that with you. But I'm really curious to know how you got into this space. Like, were you aware of this gift as a child? Like, I would love to hear that story.
I always knew there was something a bit different about me, but I wouldn't say I seen dead people. You know the way that you see people say, "Oh yeah, I've seen dead people all my life." I didn't quite see that. I more had a knowing about stuff, like I had no stuff that was going to happen. I used to call it my nervy feeling because I'd get like a feeling in my stomach, and I still get it today. If it's to do with some of my family members or close friends, because I can't really read for family members, and I can't read for myself. So if something was to happen, I get like this nervy feeling, and it just shocks me right into now. And I think, okay, something's going to happen or something's just happened. And that's what used to happen when I was a kid. But when I was a kid as well, whenever I got sick, my mum used to say it was because of my temperature, but I used to be able to see like spirals. And if I got really sick, I'd see all these spirals in the air. And I didn't know what they was, but I always felt comfortable, if that makes sense. I was always felt like, oh, I'm safe or oh, I'm comfortable. Now I was only a child, so the thought of like being, oh, I'm safe didn't quite make sense, if that means it. You just feel stuff as a child, you don't know it. So whenever I seen these spirals, I just used to feel, I'm okay, sort of thing. And then when I grew up and I started doing Reiki, learning the art of Reiki, and when I taught Reiki, one of the things that blew my mind was there's a symbol in Reiki called the chakra, and it's a line like this, and then it's a spiral. And I thought, isn't that fascinating? I used to see that as a child. And then when I read up about it, spiral apparently is the Greek word for spirit. And I was like, oh my God. So I now believe, and I've got no proof of this, but I now believe that the spirits or the circles I was seeing, the spirals in the air, were actually spirits, and they made me feel quite comfortable. Yeah. So, and then it's not something you tell anyone. So I didn't tell anyone what I could see or what I could feel. And as I got a bit older, it started becoming more and more. As a teenager, it was quite like in my face. I could hear stuff, I could see stuff in my head. And I actually thought, oh, this is it. I'm going mad. I've got something going on. But everything I was seeing was actually making sense to other people. So, well, to the people that I told, which was only like my family. And then I went in to do my nursing, and I'd tell maybe the odd person, maybe on a night shift, if I could see something, I'd say, oh, such and such has just come out of that room, and I'd see little bits and pieces. But it wasn't until I started studying Reiki in 2009 that I decided, as soon as I put my hands near someone, it was like I could see stuff, I could feel stuff for them. And then I decided to tell a friend and then another friend. And then she'd say, would you do me a favor? Would you see one of my friends? Because she's really desperate to see someone like you. And I'd swear everyone to secrecy. Please don't tell anyone. So they're all like, okay, we won't. But I've just told me Mason, can she come and see it? I was like, oh God. And it was getting out. And then I decided to take it out there. I was like, okay, I'm going to have to own this. And there was a lady that offered me a space on her platform, and she said, would you like to come and do some readings? And I'd done some readings, and then I went on and done some of my own stuff and my own platform stuff and the parties like what you attended. And now I see people through word of mouth from all over the world. I read for people from everywhere: America, Canada, the UK, Ireland, Scotland, you name it, from everywhere, and all around Australia and New Zealand. So I'm absolutely blessed. I've got the best job in the world.
That's amazing. So I've always been really curious about what it is that you are sensing or seeing. So is it, you said when you first felt into this gift, it was a feeling and you were seeing the spirals. Now, is it a variety of things, or is it mostly like, is it ever auditory, or is it mostly visual and sensory?
It's an amalgamation of all of them, really. I always say we as human beings have a prominence. So, like yourself, I've got a science background. I was a nurse. I was a registered nurse for many years. I still am, but I don't work in that industry anymore. I don't have time. But my senses was always feeling. I was kinesthetic, yeah. Everything was about feeling. So in the realm of my intuition, it's still about the feeling. So a lot of the time I'll feel that there's a mum coming in. I'll feel like she's a mum, or I'll feel like it's a daughter, or I'll feel like it's a dad. And then the other senses kick in with, like, maybe I'll hear stuff. Maybe I'll have visions drop in my head. It could be the person sitting in front of me might be wanting a baby or something, and I'll see the grandma and she'll be holding a baby, and then she'll hand it over to me, and I'll say, "Oh, you're going to get a child," So I know that grandma has seen the child before she gets to see it. So it's quite exciting to do stuff like that. So I would say it's an accumulation of all the senses, really. Yeah. So it's quite good. It's quite interesting.
Wow, that is so amazing. And do you feel like people are just born with this gift, or is it something that you can build and tap into more? Like, do you feel like your ability to do this has strengthened over the years, or has it always been the same?
No, it's strengthened, massively strengthened. Now, in the book, I write, I think it's chapter 13. It's all about an intuitive's guide to the Grateful Three approach. And what that is, I talk a lot in there about we're born with a heightened intuition, and we're born with, it's like, when we navigate ourselves into the world. So, what's the other word that I'm thinking of? It's we're born with intuition, and we are also born with instinct. Yeah. So they're the two things that we're born with. Now, if you think about a mum, and she's really, really stressed out, and she's got this baby, and this baby just cries and cries and cries, even though she feeds him and she wins him and she does everything with him, but he still cries. And then you've got a mum who's really chilled out, like nothing phases her. And she seems to have this child that sleeps all the time and, that doesn't get stressed out. Now, it doesn't happen all the time, but that's the usual case. If you look at a baby who's crying for nothing at all, you've only got to look at his surroundings. And it sometimes can be the mum can be highly anxious about this new baby. Yeah. Now, when we're born, I believe we're born with instinct and intuition. There are massive senses. Yeah. And that's what guides us into this world. That's what makes us want to cry when we take our first breath, when we get down that birth canal, or whatever way we're getting into this world. And when we're born with this heightened sense, we can sense when people around us are anxious, or they're stressed, or they're happy, or they're sad, or they're chilled out. And that doesn't leave us. However, when we have our other senses join the party, like our eyesight and our speech and our hearing and our touch, we know what we're touching. We know then what we're seeing is our mum. We know that what we're hearing might be our dad. Yeah. So we start to rely on these other senses because they're tangible. You can feel them and you can see them. But what we do then is we leave our intuition behind. We sort of leave it and go, well, the rest of the things, our other senses can get us through life. So we leave the intuition. And I always say it's like having full blown eyesight, but living your life with your eyes closed. So can you imagine if you tapped in, which everyone has got, to tap into the intuition that you were born with? It then would open up another sense that could massively enhance your life. And can you imagine how different? Like, if you think about it, if you walked around with full sight and your eyes closed, would your relationships be different? Would your jobs be different? Would your career, your business, your opportunities, your dress, your hair, would it all be different? Yeah. And that's what we do when we don't tap into our intuition. We walk around life with a massively amazing sense that we don't tap into. So that's why I teach people very gently in the new book how to tap into that.
Wow, that was so mind blowing. And I can't wait to start talking about this book, because that's just it. I told the girls inside my membership that I was interviewing you. And one of the things that popped up is that, it's quite often that comes to me is like, how do I trust my intuition more? My intuition has led me astray. And I don't believe that that's true. I don't believe that your intuition leads you astray. I think it's something else. It's the ego, it's anxiety. It's not your intuition. It's not trusting your intuition. So let's get into the Grateful Three approach, how you came up with that, and just how I'm going to leave the floor to you, how you want to guide us through that.
Okay, so firstly, before I go into the book, I will just say to you about your intuition. You said about how do we know and trust our intuition. And there's something really, really simple that I teach some people, and I wrote this in the book, whereas the conscious mind, if you like, has always been there to keep us safe. Yeah. So because your intuition is intangible, the conscious mind is massive and it says, no, 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 you can't do that. So imagine if you wanted to change your career or change your job and you thought to yourself, okay, so you ask yourself there and you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to go and get this new job. Yeah. And then straight away, before you've even asked that sentence in your head, straight away, your conscious mind will come in and say, well, the old job's not that bad. And what if you don't like the new job? And what if you meet horrible people? And what if you can't do the shifts? And what if this and what if that? And straight away, you've let go of the intuition's very subtle and gentle way of communicating with you to this powerful structure that has served us well in all our lives because it keeps us safe. But sometimes it doesn't have to keep us safe. Yeah. So if we listen to the conscious babble of the mind, then we let that intuition go. People get a bit scared and they say, but what if I trust it? What if you trust it? Your life will change if you trust your intuition. You might be put in the next job where you think, okay, I trusted my intuition and I really don't like this job. But you know what? It got you out the other one. And it just might get you, and it will do, out of this next one into the job you're supposed to be at, but it just wasn't available at that time. Do you get what I mean? So
Yeah.
sometimes we trust it and we think, oh, that was not where I wanted to be. Hello, it's exactly where you're supposed to be because now you're free and now you can go to where you're supposed to go to.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, so much sense. I absolutely love that. And I find that when people are afraid to trust their intuition, like they're stuck in this place, not leaving that job that they really don't find fulfilling. And they're waiting for like that big sign that's going to be, this is the for sure next thing. But as you were saying, it's like when you follow that intuition, it's like following that next and you're picking up, it's almost like that pebble or that lesson along the way that, hey, you actually wouldn't have got to that ideal job had you not taken these other steps along the way where you were building either the skill set or the character or whatever you needed to get to that ultimate job. I love that explanation. That was great.
Thank you. And it's true. So always listen to your intuition. It got us safely into the world. Yeah. Always remember that. It got you down that birth canal or however you got into the world, it got you here. It made you take your first breath and it made you be the person that you are today. And that's why I love that line, and that's why it's one of my favorite quotes out of my book. The emotion gave you motion and the learnings will give you life. It's
Love
really
it.
so the book.
Yeah, let's get into it. I would love to learn more about the Grateful Three approach.
Okay. So the Grateful Three approach to life. That's it. There we go. The Grateful Three approach to life, an intuitive's guide to mastering your mind. Now you hit on something you said before, which made me heart sink. When you were talking about your story and you said, Anne-Marie, you not only told me what was going to happen, but you sort of guided me, or it's like a coach. And that's what I do. I work as an intuitive coach. And it's all the tools and all the learnings I've gathered on my life's journey I bring to the book, if you like, to help people. Because I was only getting to see people maybe in a small seminar or a workshop or on one-to-one in my office. I knew that the learnings throughout this book, which I'll explain in a sec, even if it helped one person, it could be mind changing. It was such a special thing for me to keep to myself. And I wanted it to reach so many people. And I know that when people, through the feedback, when people are picking up the book and they're reading it, and it's so easy to read, it's so quick to pick up the tools that are in it and to implement them into your life, because we've all got busy lives. So every time I picked up a book or picked up a new venture, It was like, okay, I need to do this, this, and this strategy to sort my mind out. And the one thing we won't do is if things become hard or if we've got too many strategies to do, we just get lost, you know? So I was like, I'm a simple person, really simple, quick, and, a little bit scientific as well. So I wanted to know how the mind worked and how it could work in my language. So I discovered something called the RAS system. Now, this is all in chapter 1, and this can change your life totally. So the RAS system is a group of neurons in the brain, and they act as the gatekeepers of your life. We have like 60,000 thoughts come into our brain every day. So how do we know which ones to keep and store as data, which make us who we are? So this group of neurons called the RAS system, these gatekeepers, they pick the thoughts that are attached to an emotion and they store it as data. So I studied all this and I thought to myself, okay, that sounds really interesting. And then one thing that stuck in my head was, when you're going to buy a new car and you think, oh God, I want a red Range Rover. Yeah. And then you go out into the street and next month there's red Range Rovers everywhere. And you're like, were they there yesterday? Of course they were there yesterday. But what you've done is your little RAS system has been activated and thought, oh my God, that's a great thought, red Range Rover. And it comes with an excited emotion. So we're going to keep hold of that. And then your senses, your ears, your nose, your mouth, your eyes will see what your RAS determines as important. Okay. Now, the beauty of this, if you do the grateful 3 steps of a morning, like open your eyes and just put your hands on your chest and say, I am grateful for my life. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for my breath. Whatever it is, just 3 things. The RAS system kicks in and goes, oh, we need to find things to be grateful for. So you go out into the world that day and you will see so much more to be grateful for. Now, here comes the bad news, because the RAS system doesn't have a right or a wrong. So if you walk through life going, oh, I hate this and oh, I hate that and this is shite and that's no good, you're going to see so much more of all that horrible stuff throughout your life. So the first chapter teaches you how to flip the RAS system on for success. And then the book follows. Yeah. And it's so simple and so easy.
I love that. Yes, so true. And I think we all know someone who, starts their day off looking at all the negatives and they just, even when something really great is in their face, they can still always find the negative. So it's really telling your brain
Yeah.
what to focus on. Love that.
That's right. And the book, as I go through the book, I do it in a story, teach, tool method. So I take you through my life's journey, and it hasn't always been easy. Like I was in school and I was dyslexic and it wasn't really recognized in my day. So we actually got put in a class to make baskets. We used to weave these baskets. And my son thinks this is hysterical. He says to me, Mum, you're one of the cleverest people I know. I can't believe they stuck you in a class to make baskets, And I say, but somebody didn't know what to do with us. Yeah. So I take it on a journey of how through the mind alone, on my journey and some of my clients' journey, through the mind alone, how you can flip that script using all the strategies and tools that I put in the book. Like there's another chapter called, I don't want to swear on your podcast, but it's called
No, go for it. I always do all the time.
Okay. This is called the Fuck It Bucket. And and it's about how to stop exterior judgment stopping you from living your life. So as I take you on these journeys, I give you all the tools and the strategies to change your mindset and not have no barriers within your life. Don't ever worry about what other people will say or will think. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter and it should never affect you.
Wow. That's bringing another memory back to my mind. So that was one of the things you told me in our session as well. As you said, you have so much potential, and your grandma or whoever was next to you saying, I'm telling her she's not listening. I'm telling her she's not listening to me. And you said you want to do more, but you're scared of what people will think. And it's actually so funny because in the last couple of years, and I would say probably in the last year especially, I am a big advocate of the fuck it bucket because I really don't care anymore. And it is so freeing to not care and to live your life for you, because people are going to judge you regardless.
Yeah. And this is what I talk about in the Fuck Up Buckets, because I say to people, you think about, you want to get out there on social media, or you've got something to share, or you want to make a difference in someone's life. And then all of a sudden, this thought pops into your head. Well, what if someone judges me on Facebook? So this is where the buckets come in, because I said, imagine you've got a bucket to the left of you with people who don't know you and you don't know them. And then you've got a bucket to the right of you with people who don't like you and you don't like them, because there is going to be people who just don't like you because you're you. I don't know. Maybe you got a Scouse accent or something. They'll just won't, you know what I mean? They just won't like you for whatever reason. And then you've got a small bucket in the front with all the people who love you. I'll very quickly tell you this. And this is what changed my life, because I was always worried about what other people would say or would think or would do. Coming out of the closet saying you can see dead people, you're putting yourself up for a lot of bullets there, and I was a clinical nurse specialist and had a great job. So I could have stayed in that zone. Anyway, so imagine you're going to put something out there and it's going to change your life. It's going to change your family's life. It's going to give you the opportunity to grow your business or to go into a career that you've always wanted to go into. But you're terrified what someone might say. So let's look at it. If you decide to step up and show up as you and honestly feel the way we do now, then that is liberating and you will deliver your best, always your best. Yeah. But say you let someone step inside here, either the person who doesn't know you, person who doesn't like you, or even someone that loves you. Okay, so let's work this out. So the person who doesn't know you could actually stop you from living your full potential. You don't know this person and they don't know you. Yeah. So put them in that bucket. Okay. Doesn't matter what they say. You're going to actually give them the power to overrule your life and you don't know them. Mind blowing, isn't it? But that's what we do. And think of the people who don't like you and you're not that keen on them. People that we don't like, yeah? So think of that bucket. You're going to actually let them stop you from achieving your dreams. Really? My son wants to go to university and, maybe one day I'll be able to pay for him to go to university. No, you're not, because you're going to let someone who you don't know or someone who you don't like or they don't like you stop you. Wow. Yeah. But then we get to the front bucket, and the front bucket is full of the people who love us and care about us, whose advice we would take. However, I believe the only person's advice we should take is our own. Okay. Because in this front bucket, you will get people who turn around and go, oh, I don't think you should do that. Because of their love for you, they think you might fail and they're so protective of you, they don't want you to fail. Or they might say to you, oh, no, I don't think that's a good idea, because of their limiting beliefs, because they wouldn't have ever been able to be successful at that. Do you get what I mean? So when you get to the Fuck Up Bucket, you will realize that you shouldn't let anyone stop you. Yeah? And you go forward, because the only person you should listen to is you. And just before I finish on that chapter, the most successful people in this world fail many times. And the most unsuccessful people fail once or never.
Oh, I love that. There's a couple of things I wanted to pick up on that. Just the activity of the creating buckets. And it's it sounds simple, but what I love about it is that when you envision these buckets and you're like, okay, these people don't know me. Why am I giving them power over me? These people, I don't even like them. Why am I? When you create these buckets and you can visualize it, whatever your learning style is, or you can sense it or whatever, you're creating psychological space between you and that person's opinion. And it allows you to, for a second, not be swallowed up by it. Because sometimes when we're in our thoughts and we're like, what's my Uncle Frank gonna think? Like, it gets so big, whereas then we can be like, but he's in his bucket over here. And then you can see how truly silly it is that we would give our power away to anyone, including, as you mentioned, people that love us.
That's it. That's it. And that's the thing that people say, well, shouldn't I listen to the front bucket? And I say, no, because that can actually stop you as well. The only person you should listen to is you, you know? And if you honestly come back in your zone of like having your buckets and giving the power back to these people, give your own power. I don't want none of this. Then it changes because you think, okay, I can do this. I'm going to step up. And you'll find the funny thing that I found was I was waiting for waiting for all this explosion to go off, and the one thing that made me laugh is actually no one gives a shit. They're all too busy and surrounded with their own stuff. So I was like, actually, I wasn't that important after all.
I think that's the craziest thing is that we think people are judging us. We think people are thinking about us so much more than they actually are.
Oh, yeah. No.
Like people have their own problems. They're not thinking about us as much as we like to think that they are.
That's right. That's right. And it's quite liberating when you discover that. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So I decided to put it all together in a story teach tool to help people pick up. Even if you went through one chapter in the book, because there's loads of stuff in there. There's like how to get rid of anxiety, how to change the words that you say every day. There's something in there called Stop Twerking Tequila, which is quite funny. So if you if you want to learn about how tequila is quite good, read the book. but that stops the pattern. You talked about you go on one in your head about how Uncle Frank's gonna, and he's gonna be all judgmental and he's gonna do this and he's do that. The Stop Twerking Tequila teaches you how to break the pattern in the mind. So that's a really good tool as well. It's got a funny story.
I love that. So I'm super excited about the book. What I'm really loving about what you're sharing is that they seem to be things that are really going to be easy to implement and things that will do like pattern interrupts and really just get us to take a step back and create psychological distance between ourselves and our problems or perceived problems. And I think that's all we need is to create a little bit of space and you get clarity because it's so easy to get caught up and follow this momentum as you were talking about, like in the morning, starting with things that you're grateful for. I mean, there's a reason that high performers and people that are really successful say that they do gratitudes first thing in the morning because they understand that just that creates momentum in your day. I love that.
Yeah, it does. It changes your life. It's a game changer. You don't realize that by doing that one simple strategy can change everything, And the science behind it was because I knew how it changed my life, but then finding out the science behind it was like, wow, this is great. And it's quick and it's simple. It's amazing. There's just one little simple thing that I would say as well. When people say, oh, I have anxiety. Well, I used to walk around saying, oh, I have a phobia or I have anxiety. And I used to say it all the time. And as soon as I said the word anxiety, I would be holding myself to this. Oh, I have anxiety. Oh, okay, right. I've fitted into my zone. Yeah. My anxiety zone. Yeah. And we actually at that time don't have anxiety. We're in a space of calmness. But when you're talking to someone, you say, oh, yeah, I have anxiety. And it straight away puts you back into that headspace. So I decided with my coaching clients that I see, I decided to say, okay, this is the twilight zone. When you're in my room or when you go outside this room, you never use the word anxiety. You say, I have thoughts. So when people talk about, I have anxiety about getting in a car, my clients will say to you, I have thoughts about getting in a car. So it breaks that pattern straight away. And then you start saying, okay, so what thoughts do you have? Well, I don't really like it. Okay, now we're getting choice. You don't really like it. So there's a way that we can try and fix this. Do you get what I mean? So straight away, by just changing that one word from anxiety to thoughts, changes the pattern, starts to loosen the grip we have. Yeah. And then we work on that.
That's huge. I'm going to use that. That's going to be my takeaway from today because I often talk about the power of language and how every word has like an energetic weight to it. And it's like, what frequency do you want to be coming out of your mouth? And I love that. because anxiety is just thoughts, often exaggerated thoughts about a situation.
You know, the feeling in your tummy, the feeling that we have in the tummy of excitement and the feeling that we have in our tummy as nervousness are both chemically the same. It just depends what thought, the RAS system, what thought we've grabbed and we've put and stored as data. Yeah. And that becomes your anxiety around cars. That becomes my phobia as it was around flying, you know? And when I learned that this was the same, then I could change it. I used to go, it was so funny. I used to go around and go, I'm so excited about getting on a plane. I'm so excited. And my conscious mind would be going, no, you're not. You're absolutely terrified. And I was going, I'm not. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Until I got absolutely so excited about getting on a plane. I sat for 3.5 hours on a flight to Bali going, I'm so excited about being here. I'm so excited about being here.
Wow.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That's honestly life-changing. I don't think maybe I don't want to assume for anyone listening, please don't let that just like fly over your mind right now. Like really take that in and think about like what words are you using that stimulate that whatever type of energy, anxious feeling energy or whatever, and see if you can trade it for something else and maybe just saying, I have thoughts around it. I think that's really going to be transformational. Something so simple that we can do can be so transformational. Like I know for me, that's going to be something that I'm going to be taking starting today, replacing words that are very disempowering and feel heavy.
Yeah, that's right.
And using words that I have thoughts around this. And then you get to be curious about it because what are those thoughts?
Yeah, that's right. It's funny, isn't it? Because you loosen your grip. And that's what I was saying. Like, I studied all this stuff. I've read so many books and stuff like that over the years to put this book together because I wanted something quick, simple, and easy. Because life is getting so busy for all of us. And I wanted something that we can bring in. Oh my God, that's so easy. I just won't say that word anymore. You know, and it can be just life changing by just letting go of that. You know, my husband, he's quite funny. Like he was doing a shift in work and he was in charge this night. And he's not always in charge because he's like a deputy. And I sent him a message saying, hi, babe, how's your shift going? And he said, I'm just having some thoughts.
You've trained him well. That is amazing. I love that.
And then the two of us started laughing. So it breaks that pattern.
Oh my gosh, Emery, you are amazing. I'm so grateful that you came on the show and I'm so grateful that we got to reconnect and I got to share that story because if it was someone telling me that story, that impact I had on their life, like that would just be so amazing. And you have a beautiful gift and you made such an impact on my life, not only that night, but in the months to follow. And I remember sharing that with so many people. And I walked away not only feeling comforted that like my grandma or someone in my mother's side was guiding me, but you also spoke life into me about believing in myself more and really going for it. And you saw goals in my future that I was going to be achieving. And, you know, I'm working towards those exact things. And so thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you. Where can everybody get the book and learn more about working with you?
You can jump on my website. It's annemarielord.com and send me a little message or, you know, you can email me. But to get the book is on all the major platforms. So it's on Amazon, UK, US, Australia, Canada, Europe, it's everywhere. And also it's on all the major sites like your Booktopia, all the book sites that you can go on, it's on there. And I'm so excited because in the next 2 weeks, I've just finished yesterday recording the audibles for the book. So I'm so excited about that. So we're just doing some editing at the moment. So I'm really excited about that. And that should be up and running within the next 2 weeks.
Well, my friend, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. It was so good listening back to that and sharing that space with the beautiful Marcia Miatki. If you want to see all the things that Marcia is up to, I will have all her information within the show notes and where you can contact her and how you can get in touch with both of us really. Have the best day, my friend, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this show. It's important to note that while I'm here to inspire, encourage and guide you, I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist or a doctor. Join me again in 2 weeks for more captivating revelations on the supernatural. Remember to be in with a chance to have your questions answered on the podcast. Subscribe to my newsletter at amarylord.com. Stay in the tribe to vibe. I appreciate you guys. See you next time.